The bitter January wind whipped through Manhattan's concrete canyons as Maya Rodriguez hurried down Fifth Avenue, her scrubs hidden beneath a worn winter coat. She was already running late for her evening shift at the community health clinic in East Harlem, where she worked as a physiotherapist. The sun had begun its early winter descent, casting long shadows between the towering buildings, when she heard a faint cry coming from a dimly lit side street. Maya hesitated. Her supervisor, Dr. Thompson, had already warned her about tardiness, and another late arrival could jeopardize her position at the clinic. But something about that sound made her pause. Glancing at her watch, she took a deep breath and turned down the street. There, huddled against a brick wall, sat an elderly woman in an expensive but disheveled coat, clutching her hip in obvious pain. Despite the quality of her clothing, her silver hair was windblown, and her face bore an expression of confused distress. "Ma'am? Are you all right?" Maya approached cautiously, her medical training kicking in as she assessed the situation. The woman looked up, revealing striking green eyes clouded with pain and confusion. I seem to have lost my way," the woman admitted, her voice carrying traces of a refined British accent. "And when I tried to get up after resting, my hip." She winced, attempting to shift position. Maya knelt beside her, professional instincts taking over. "I'm a physiotherapist. May I help you?" After receiving a nod, she performed a quick assessment. "Nothing seems broken, but you're experiencing severe muscle spasms. Do you have someone I can call?" The woman shook her head, then seemed to reconsider. "My phone. I must have dropped it when I fell. And I can't quite remember the numbers." Her voice trailed off, a flash of fear crossing her face. Making a quick decision, Maya pulled out her phone. "I'm going to be late for work anyway. Let me help you get somewhere warm, and we can figure this out together." She helped the woman to her feet, supporting her weight as they slowly made their way to a nearby cafe. Once settled in a quiet corner with steaming cups of tea, the woman introduced herself simply as Eleanor. She remained vague about her circumstances but mentioned she had been visiting her old neighborhood when she became disoriented. As they talked, Maya noticed subtle signs that concerned her: Eleanor's occasional confusion about dates, her reluctance to contact family directly, and the quality of her clothing that suggested wealth but showed signs of neglect. Something wasn't adding up. "Eleanor, I really think we should contact someone for you." "Family? A caregiver?" Maya pressed gently. Eleanor's fingers tightened around her teacup. "There's a building. Blackwood Tower. I need to get there, but I can't seem to remember exactly where it is." Maya's eyes widened. Everyone knew Blackwood Tower, the gleaming headquarters of Blackwood International, one of the city's most powerful corporations. "That's actually not far from here. I can help you get there, but..." She hesitated. "Are you sure that's where you want to go?" Eleanor's expression suddenly sharpened, showing a glimpse of steel beneath the confusion. "Yes, quite sure. Would you be kind enough to accompany me? I find myself, not quite myself today." The next 30 minutes were surreal. Maya helped Eleanor into a taxi, and they pulled up to the imposing glass tower. To Maya's shock, the security guards immediately recognized Eleanor, their professional demeanor cracking with obvious concern. "Mrs. Blackwood. We've been searching for hours. Mr. Harrison has half the security team out looking for you." The chief of security rushed forward, while another guard immediately got on his radio. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Mrs. Blackwood, as in Eleanor Blackwood, the widow of business legend Richard Blackwood and majority shareholder of Blackwood International? The woman who had disappeared from public life 3 years ago, leading to rumors and speculation across the business world? Before Maya could process this revelation, the lobby erupted with activity. A tall man in an expensive suit burst from the elevator, his face a mask of controlled worry. "Mother! Where have you been? When you slipped away from the nurses again. Again? Maya interrupted, her professional concern overriding her awe at the situation. How often does this happen? The man, who Maya now recognized from business magazines as James Harrison, CEO of Blackwood International and Eleanor's son from her first marriage, turned to her with a mix of suspicion and relief. And you are? Maya Rodriguez. I'm a physiotherapist at East Harlem Community Health Clinic. I found Mrs. Blackwood. Eleanor, having difficulty with her hip. As a medical professional, I'm concerned about her confusion and mobility issues. Has she been evaluated for? That's quite enough, Harrison cut her off smoothly. We have a team of private physicians. Thank you for your assistance, Ms. Rodriguez. Johnson will see that you're compensated for your time. I don't want compensation, Maya replied firmly, watching as Eleanor was led toward the elevator by a nurse who had appeared from somewhere. I want to make sure she's getting proper care. The symptoms I observed suggest. Your concern is noted, Harrison interrupted again, his tone final. But Eleanor turned back, her green eyes suddenly clear and sharp. James, don't be rude to the girl who helped me when your expensive security team couldn't find me for hours. She fixed her son with a stern look before turning to Maya. My dear, would you join me for tea tomorrow? I'd like to properly thank you, and perhaps, discuss a few things. Before Harrison could object, Eleanor had one of her nurses hand Maya a business card with an address and time written on it. As Maya left the tower, her head spinning from the evening's events, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just taken an unexpected turn. Later that night, after explaining her tardiness to her supervisor at the clinic, Maya sat in her small apartment, staring at the elegant business card. A quick internet search had revealed more about Eleanor Blackwood, philanthropist, business pioneer, and one of the wealthiest women in the city. But it was the look in Eleanor's eyes that stuck with Maya, that moment of clarity and purpose that suggested there was much more to this story than a simple case of getting lost. As she set her alarm for the next day, Maya wondered what exactly she had gotten herself into. She had no way of knowing that this chance encounter would not only change her life but would shake the foundations of one of the city's most powerful families and force her to question everything she thought she knew about wealth, power, and the true cost of kindness. The next morning, Maya found herself standing before an elegant brownstone in the Upper East Side, the address matching the one on Eleanor's card. Her finger hesitated over the doorbell as doubts crept in. The events of the previous evening felt almost dreamlike in the harsh light of day. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb, and James Harrison emerged, his expression darkening when he spotted Maya. Ms. Rodriguez. I was hoping to catch you before you went inside. He straightened his Italian silk tie. I want to be clear about something. My mother is not well. She often makes impulsive decisions that we later need to manage. If you're hoping to profit from this situation. Mr. Harrison, Maya cut him off, drawing herself up to her full height. I'm here because your mother invited me. As a healthcare professional, I'm concerned about what I observed yesterday. That's all. The door opened before Harrison could respond. An elderly butler appeared, his face carefully neutral. Ms. Rodriguez, Mrs. Blackwood is expecting you. Mr. Harrison, your mother was quite clear about wanting to speak with Ms. Rodriguez privately. The butler, who introduced himself as Phillips, led Maya through the mansion. The interior was a testament to old money, not ostentatious, but filled with subtle signs of wealth and history. Family photographs lined one wall, telling a story through the decades. Maya noticed that Eleanor appeared in many of them, but always slightly apart from the others, even in shots where she was centered. Eleanor sat in a sunlit conservatory, looking markedly different from the confused woman of yesterday. Her silver hair was perfectly coiffed, her clothing elegant but comfortable. Those piercing green eyes were clear and focused. Maya, dear. Thank you for coming. Eleanor gestured to the chair across from her. Phillips, tea please. And ensure we're not disturbed. She waited until Phillips had left before continuing. I imagine you have questions. Several, Maya admitted. Starting with whether you're receiving proper medical care. Your symptoms yesterday were partly genuine, partly theater, Eleanor interrupted smoothly. The hip pain was real enough, old injury acting up. The confusion, let's call it a test. One that my son's security team and staff failed rather spectacularly, wouldn't you say? Maya sat back, reassessing everything she thought she knew about the situation. A test? I needed to see what would happen if I slipped away. Who would find me, how they would react, what they would do. Eleanor's lips curved in a slight smile. I didn't expect to find someone like you. Phillips returned with tea, and Eleanor waited until he had gone before continuing. Tell me, what do you know about Blackwood International? Only what everyone knows, Maya replied carefully. It's one of the largest technology and healthcare conglomerates in the country. Your late husband built it from nothing. Richard built the technology division, Eleanor corrected. I built the healthcare division. Something that seems to have been conveniently forgotten since his death. She set down her teacup with a sharp click. Did you know that before I married Richard, I had already established 3 successful medical technology companies? Maya shook her head, fascinated. Eleanor continued, when we married, merging our companies made sense. Richard was brilliant with computers and artificial intelligence. I understood medical applications and hospital administration. Together, we created something revolutionary. But history has a way of simplifying stories, of erasing certain contributors. A noise from the hallway made Eleanor pause. After a moment, she continued more quietly, my son, James is actually my son from my first marriage, has been CEO since Richard's death 3 years ago. He's been restructuring. Selling off portions of the healthcare division, focusing entirely on AI and tech. Against my explicit wishes. I don't understand, Maya said slowly. Don't you still own controlling interest? For now. Eleanor's expression hardened. There's a board meeting next month. James has been gathering proxy votes, convincing shareholders that I'm becoming unreliable. Too elderly and confused to make sound decisions. Yesterday's little adventure was meant to test how far he's gone with positioning staff to support that narrative. Maya felt a chill. That's why you wanted a witness from outside. Someone with medical training who could verify your mental competency. Smart girl. Eleanor smiled. But I need more than just a witness. I need an ally. Someone who understands both healthcare and ethics. Someone who would notice if a woman was being systematically stripped of her power under the guise of concern for her health. What exactly are you asking? I'm offering you a job, Maya. Officially, as my personal physiotherapist. Unofficially, as my eyes and ears. The salary would be substantially more than what you're making at the clinic, and you'd be helping to protect billions in healthcare infrastructure from being dismantled for quick profit. Maya's mind raced. This is a lot to process. And potentially dangerous, from what you're suggesting. Everything worthwhile involves risk, Eleanor replied. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal or unethical. Just to observe, report to me, and be prepared to testify about my mental competency if necessary. In return, besides the salary, you'll have access to resources to help far more people than you could at your clinic. Before Maya could respond, there was a commotion in the hallway. The door burst open, and a woman in her 40s stormed in, followed by an apologetic Phillips. Aunt Eleanor, is it true? You're hiring some random person off the street as your therapist? The woman shot Maya a dismissive look. After everything we've done to ensure you have the best care? Victoria, Eleanor's voice carried a warning note. I don't recall asking for your input on my medical decisions. James called me. He's worried, we're all worried. Ever since Uncle Richard died. Victoria's voice caught theatrically. We just want what's best for you. How convenient that what's best for me always aligns with James's business plans, Eleanor observed dryly. She turned to Maya. Victoria is Richard's niece. She sits on the board, thanks to shares inherited from her father. She's also been very supportive of James's recent initiatives. Victoria's face flushed. That's unfair. James is trying to modernize the company, to keep us competitive. These outdated healthcare divisions are dragging us down. Uncle Richard would have understood that. Richard understood the value of saving lives over maximizing profits, Eleanor snapped, showing the first crack in her composed facade. Something the current leadership seems to have forgotten. Maya watched the exchange, pieces clicking into place. This wasn't just about control of a company, it was about legacy, about the fundamental purpose of what Richard and Eleanor had built together. I'll take the job, Maya said suddenly, surprising herself as much as the others. When can I start? Victoria's face darkened, but Eleanor smiled. Immediately, my dear. Phillips will show you to your office and get the paperwork started. She fixed Victoria with a stern look. Unless there are any other concerns about my right to choose my own medical staff? After Victoria stormed out and Maya had signed a stack of contracts, Eleanor held her back for a final word. Thank you for trusting your instincts, both yesterday and today. But be careful. James and Victoria are just the visible opposition. There are others who have much to gain from seeing me declared incompetent. As Maya left the brownstone that evening, her head spinning with the day's revelations, she noticed a black SUV following her taxi. The game, it seemed, had already begun. She pulled out her phone and made a call to her supervisor at the clinic, officially accepting the leave of absence that Eleanor's lawyers had arranged. What she didn't notice was the small drone hovering above the street, its camera capturing her every move, transmitting data to a secure server where facial recognition software was already building a complete profile of Maya Rodriguez, and flagging several details that would soon throw everything into chaos. 3 weeks into her new position, Maya found herself navigating a world far more complex than she'd imagined. The elegant brownstone had become a chessboard where every move was watched, analyzed, and countered. She discovered that being Eleanor's physiotherapist meant more than just managing the older woman's hip pain, it meant being privy to conversations that could shake Wall Street. One crisp morning, as Maya guided Eleanor through her exercises in the private gym, Phillips appeared with an urgent message. Mrs. Blackwood, there's been a leak to the Financial Times. They're running a story about the proposed healthcare division sale. Eleanor's grip tightened on the resistance band. Earlier than expected. James is getting bolder. She turned to Maya. Cancel the rest of the session. We need to move now. Within an hour, Maya found herself in a secret room behind Eleanor's study, watching as the older woman opened a hidden safe. These documents, Eleanor explained, pulling out a thick folder, prove that James has been systematically undervaluing our healthcare assets to justify their sale to shell companies he controls. Maya's hands shook as she examined the papers. This is illegal, isn't it? Highly. But proving it requires someone on the inside to testify. Eleanor's eyes gleamed. Someone like Dr. Sarah Chen, head of our cancer research division. She's been collecting evidence for months. A sharp knock interrupted them. Phillips entered, his usually impassive face tight with worry. Dr. Chen was just involved in a car accident. Nothing fatal, but she'll be hospitalized for weeks. Eleanor's face went pale. Not an accident, I'd wager. Maya, we need to move these documents to a secure location. I don't trust the house anymore. That night, Maya made her way home with the documents hidden in her medical supply bag, her heart pounding with every passing car. She nearly jumped out of her skin when her phone rang, an unlisted number. Ms. Rodriguez, a familiar voice purred. Victoria. I hope you're settling into your new role well. Listen, I feel we got off on the wrong foot. Perhaps we could meet for coffee? Tomorrow morning, say 8 a.m. at La Maison? Maya thought quickly. That would be lovely. The cafe was elegant and empty when Maya arrived. Victoria sat at a corner table, immaculate in a designer suit. Thank you for coming. I'll be direct, we know you have the documents. Hand them over, and we'll double whatever Eleanor's paying you. I don't know what you're talking about, Maya replied steadily, though her pulse raced. Victoria's smile turned cold. No? Let me tell you what we do know about you, Maya Rodriguez. Born in the Bronx, scholarship to NYU, impressive grades but massive student loans. A younger sister with chronic health issues your parents can barely afford to treat. We could help with all of that. Maya felt ice in her veins. They'd investigated her family. Are you threatening me? Offering you an opportunity. Eleanor is fighting a losing battle. The board vote is next week. Be smart about which side you choose. Maya stood up, her chair scraping loudly. Thank you for the coffee. She turned to leave but Victoria's next words stopped her cold. Your sister's insurance claim for her experimental treatment was just approved, wasn't it? Shame if there was a review. Maya walked out, her mind racing. Back at the brownstone, she found Eleanor in an intense discussion with her lawyers. Talk of injunctions, emergency board meetings, and shareholder rights flew back and forth. They threatened my sister, Maya interrupted. The room fell silent. Eleanor dismissed everyone except Maya. Tell me everything. After Maya recounted the meeting, Eleanor's face hardened. I was afraid of this. James always did fight dirty. She pressed a button under her desk, and a hidden panel opened, revealing a bank of monitors. What they don't know is that I've been gathering evidence too. Not just of financial fraud, but of systematic harassment and intimidation. The screens showed surveillance footage, email exchanges, bank transfers, a web of corruption centered around James and Victoria. The problem, Eleanor continued, is that I can't release this without risking everyone involved, including your family. We need something bigger, something that would make the whole board sit up and take notice. Maya thought about her sister, about all the patients who depended on Blackwood's healthcare divisions. What about the AI division? James's pride and joy? Eleanor's eyes sparkled. Go on. You mentioned your husband was brilliant with AI. Surely he left some kind of failsafe? Something to prevent the company from abandoning its medical mission? Eleanor went very still. Richard's last project. Of course. She turned to her computer, fingers flying over the keyboard. Before he died, Richard was working on an AI system designed to integrate all our healthcare data. He called it the Guardian Protocol. James shut it down, claimed it was unstable. But if we could restart it? A loud crash from downstairs interrupted them. Phillips burst in. Security breach. They're searching for the documents. Eleanor acted quickly, pressing a sequence of buttons. The hidden panel closed just as heavy footsteps approached. James entered with 2 security guards and a man in a suit. Mother, this is Mr. Pierce from Adult Protective Services. We're concerned about your recent erratic behavior and possible exploitation by new staff members. He glanced meaningfully at Maya. How convenient, Eleanor replied coldly. Just as I was about to show Maya something interesting about Project Guardian. James's face went white. That program was discontinued. Was it? Or did you bury it because it would prevent exactly what you're trying to do? Eleanor's voice was steel. Richard designed it to ensure our healthcare divisions would always remain true to their original mission. Isn't that why you had Dr. Chen attacked? Because she found the backup servers? The APS worker looked confused. Mr. Harrison, you assured me this was a simple competency check. Get out, James snapped at him. Once he'd gone, James turned to his mother. You have no proof of anything. The Guardian protocol recorded everything, James. Every deleted email, every shell company, every threat. Richard made sure of that. Did you really think he'd leave his life's work unprotected? Maya watched the power dynamic shift in real time. James's confident facade cracked, showing fear beneath. You're bluffing. That program was destroyed. Was it? Care to risk everything on that assumption? The board meets in 3 days. Should I have my team restore the Guardian protocol before then? See what stories it has to tell. The next hour was a blur of negotiations. James, realizing he was cornered, agreed to withdraw his proposals. Victoria, summoned to the house, was forced to sign documents guaranteeing the healthcare division's independence. Later, alone with Maya, Eleanor finally relaxed. There is no Guardian protocol, is there? Maya asked. Eleanor smiled mysteriously. Richard was brilliant with computers. But sometimes the threat of something is more powerful than the thing itself. James's guilty conscience did most of the work for us. But as Maya left that night, she noticed Eleanor typing a long string of code into her private computer. And for a moment, just a moment, she could have sworn she saw lines of data that looked remarkably like an AI protocol flickering across the screen. The power struggle wasn't over, it had just evolved into something far more complex. And somewhere in the digital depths of Blackwood International, something that had been dormant for 3 years might just be waking up. The morning of the board meeting dawned with an electric tension in the air. Blackwood Tower's top floor buzzed with activity as board members arrived, each one carefully watched by both Eleanor's and James's security teams. Maya stood by Eleanor's side, ostensibly as her medical support, while reviewing the events that had led to this moment. Dr. Sarah Chen had been released from the hospital the previous day, wheelchair-bound but determined. She sat near Eleanor, a thick folder of documents in her lap. Victoria paced nervously by the floor-to-ceiling windows, her usual poise cracking under the strain. James hadn't arrived yet. He's planning something, Eleanor murmured to Maya. He wouldn't go down without one last fight. As if on cue, the elevator doors opened. James strode in, followed by a team of suits Maya didn't recognize. But it was the last person who entered that made Eleanor's breath catch, a tall, elderly man who looked remarkably like the late Richard Blackwood. Eleanor, James announced with a triumphant smile, I believe you remember Uncle Robert? Richard's brother has been kind enough to fly in from Geneva for this meeting. Robert Blackwood moved forward, his expression grave. Eleanor, my dear. When James called about your condition, I felt I had to come. Richard would have wanted me to protect his legacy. Eleanor's hand found Maya's arm, gripping it tightly. This was the twist she hadn't anticipated. Robert Blackwood held significant shares in his own right, and his presence lent legitimacy to James's claims. The board meeting began with James standing at the head of the table. Ladies and gentlemen, we face a crucial decision today. My mother's recent behavior has raised serious concerns about her capacity to influence company direction. Uncle Robert, as Richard's closest living relative, supports my motion to establish a conservatorship over her shares. Maya watched Eleanor carefully, but the older woman showed no reaction. She seemed to be waiting for something. Robert stood to speak next. I loved my brother, and I respected Eleanor as his wife. But Richard always feared this day might come, when emotion would override business sense. The healthcare divisions are bleeding money. Are they? 6 months after the dramatic board meeting, Blackwood Tower had undergone a metamorphosis that went far beyond its newly redesigned lobby. Maya stood at the window of her 40th floor office, watching a group of medical students enter the building, part of the new community healthcare initiative she'd helped design. The headline in today's Wall Street Journal caught her eye: Blackwood International revolutionizes urban healthcare, stock soars despite increased charitable spending. The article sat on her desk, alongside proposals for 20 new neighborhood clinics and a revolutionary patient data sharing system that would connect them all. Her phone buzzed, a text from Eleanor: "Turn on CNBC now." Maya switched on the office television just in time to see James Harrison, her former adversary, being led out of his Manhattan penthouse in handcuffs. The ticker below read: "Former Blackwood CEO arrested for corporate espionage and fraud, damages estimated at $2.4 billion. Her office door opened and Dr. Chen walked in, brandishing a tablet. "Did you see? The FBI found offshore accounts linking him to our competitors. He was selling patient data for years. How's Victoria taking it?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. She's agreed to turn state's evidence in exchange for immunity. Apparently, she's been recording their conversations since that day at the brownstone. Always have a backup plan, I suppose. Maya's new position as Director of Community Health Integration had proved more challenging and rewarding than she'd ever imagined. The transformation of Blackwood International from a profit-focused conglomerate to a hybrid organization balancing innovation with social responsibility had sent shockwaves through the corporate world. Her phone buzzed again, this time an alert about a situation at one of the new clinics in the Bronx. She grabbed her coat, remembering how different her life had been just 6 months ago when she was working at a similar clinic. "Need a ride?" Dr. Chen asked, jingling her car keys. "I'm heading up there anyway for the AI diagnostic trial." The drive gave them time to discuss the latest developments. The Guardian Protocol, now officially acknowledged and enhanced, had evolved into something unprecedented: a healthcare AI that prioritized patient outcomes over profit margins, while still generating enough revenue to fund continuous expansion of their charitable programs. "Eleanor's vision is actually working," Dr. Chen marveled as they pulled up to the clinic. "We're making more money by giving away more care. The data we gather from our free clinics improves our AI, which makes our private services more valuable to those who can afford them." The clinic was housed in a renovated warehouse, its modern interior a stark contrast to its industrial exterior. As they walked in, Maya noticed a familiar face, her former supervisor from her old clinic, now running this state-of-the-art facility. "Maya." Dr. Thompson waved them over. "You need to see this. Remember that pattern recognition feature you suggested for the pediatric screening program? We just caught our first case of early-stage neuroblastoma. Kids getting treatment at Blackwood Memorial tomorrow. Full coverage under the new charitable care program." Maya felt her throat tighten. This was why she'd taken this job, not for the corner office or the salary, but for moments like this. A child who might have slipped through the cracks in the old system now had a fighting chance. Her tablet chimed with an incoming video call from Eleanor. The older woman's face appeared, looking energized despite the early hour. "Maya, dear, are you at the Bronx Clinic? Excellent." 1 year to the day after the transformative board meeting, Maya stood on the rooftop garden of Blackwood Tower, watching as hundreds of lanterns illuminated the evening sky. Each light represented a life saved or changed by Blackwood's revolutionary healthcare programs. The annual Light of Hope celebration had become a symbol of the company's rebirth. Eleanor stood beside her, elegant as ever in a midnight blue suit, her silver hair catching the golden light of the setting sun. They watched as Dr. Chen addressed the crowd below, announcing the latest milestone: 1 million patients served through their integrated care network. "Did you ever imagine this?" Maya asked, gesturing at the spectacular view of their transformed medical campus. Where once there had been only the tower, now a complex of healing gardens, research facilities, and community health centers spread out before them. "I imagined something better than what we had," Eleanor replied thoughtfully, "but this." She paused as another round of lanterns rose into the darkening sky. This exceeded even Richard's wildest dreams. The past year had brought changes that few could have predicted. James, facing federal charges, had accepted a plea deal that required him to reveal his entire network of corrupt executives across the industry. The resulting investigations had sparked a nationwide reformation of healthcare business practices. Victoria, true to form, had landed on her feet, running a successful consulting firm that helped other companies adopt Blackwood's integrated care model. She and Eleanor had even reconciled over tea last month, though Maya suspected neither would ever fully trust the other again. "Mrs. Blackwood?" A young intern approached nervously. "They're ready for you in the main hall." The grand hall of Blackwood Tower had been transformed for tonight's event. Gone were the austere corporate trappings, replaced by interactive displays showing the company's journey and impact. Medical students mingled with board members, community health workers chatted with AI researchers, and patients shared their stories with journalists. Eleanor took the stage to thunderous applause. Maya watched with pride as her mentor addressed the crowd. "A year ago, we stood at a crossroads," Eleanor began. "We could have chosen the easy path, selling off our healthcare divisions, maximizing short-term profits, abandoning our mission. Instead, we chose to fight for something bigger than ourselves." Screens around the hall came to life, showing images from their community clinics, research breakthroughs, and patient success stories. "But our true legacy isn't in buildings or balance sheets," Eleanor continued. "It's in the child who can see clearly for the first time thanks to our free vision clinics. It's in the grandmother who can play with her grandchildren again because of our joint replacement program. It's in the father who survived cancer because our AI screening caught it early." Maya felt a hand on her shoulder. Dr. Thompson, her former supervisor, now chief of community medicine for their entire network. "Your old clinic just cleared its 10,000th patient," he whispered. "Remember when we struggled to see 50 a week?" Maya remembered all too well. She thought about the night everything changed, about how close she'd come to walking past Eleanor on that dark street. One small decision that had rippled out to affect countless lives. Eleanor was concluding her speech. "Tonight, we announce our boldest initiative yet. The Blackwood Global Health Initiative will open 100 new integrated care centers across 5 continents over the next 5 years. And to ensure this mission continues beyond any one person's lifetime, I am converting Blackwood International into a public benefit corporation, with 51% of shares held in perpetual trust for charitable care." The announcement caused a sensation. Maya knew the details, she'd helped draft the proposal, but seeing the reaction still moved her. Journalists frantically typed on their phones, board members whispered among themselves, and the medical students erupted in cheers. Later, in Eleanor's private office, a smaller celebration took place. Dr. Chen brought out a bottle of champagne, and Phillips, still the soul of discretion, produced perfectly chilled glasses. To Richard, Eleanor proposed the first toast. Who knew that technology without humanity was meaningless? To the Guardian Protocol, Dr. Chen added, which proved that AI can serve compassion as well as commerce. To Second Chances, Victoria chimed in from the doorway, having arrived late. And to Learning from Our Mistakes. Her presence still created tension, but her expertise had proven valuable in navigating the corporate transformations of the past year. To Kindness, Maya said finally. The most powerful force for change. Eleanor smiled at that. "You know, Maya, I never told you the whole truth about that night we met." The room fell silent. "I really was lost that evening," Eleanor admitted. "Not physically, I knew exactly where I was. But I'd lost my way in a deeper sense. James's betrayal, the corporate infighting, watching everything Richard and I built being dismantled. I was ready to give up." She moved to the window, looking out at the lanterns still rising over the city. "I'd decided to resign, to let James have his way. I went walking to clear my head, to convince myself it was the right decision. And then you stopped. Not because I was Eleanor Blackwood, not because there was something to gain, but simply because someone needed help. Maya felt tears in her eyes. You never seemed lost to me. You always had a plan. The plan came later. What you gave me that night was something more valuable, hope. Proof that compassion still existed in a world that seemed to only value profit. Eleanor turned back to the group. Which is why tonight's announcement isn't just about hospitals and clinics. It's about creating a legacy of kindness, a reminder that one person stopping to help another can change the world. A gentle chime interrupted them, the Guardian Protocol's daily report. But instead of its usual statistics and analytics, a different message appeared on the screen. System analysis complete. Human kindness remains the most efficient catalyst for positive change. Recommendation: continue current course. They laughed at that. Even the AI had developed a sense of poetry. The celebration continued late into the night. Maya watched as Eleanor moved through the crowd, sharing her vision with young medical students, thanking veteran staff members, and always emphasizing the importance of seeing the human being behind every spreadsheet and statistic. As the last guests departed and the lanterns faded into the night sky, Maya found herself back on the rooftop. The city stretched out before her, millions of lights twinkling like earthbound stars. Somewhere out there, someone else was stopping to help a stranger, setting in motion another chain of transformation. She thought about the millions more they would help through the global initiative, about the lives that would be changed, about the ripples that would spread out from each act of kindness. Eleanor had shown her that true power wasn't in corporate boardrooms or stock prices, it was in the choice to reach out to another human being in need. And as she made her way home through the same streets where this journey had begun, Maya smiled, knowing that their story would inspire others to make that same choice, creating a legacy of compassion that would endure long after the lanterns had faded from the sky. The Guardian Protocol hummed softly in its servers, recording it all, learning and growing, but always guided by the simple truth it had observed that first night, that in a world of artificial intelligence and corporate power plays, the most revolutionary force was still the human heart's capacity for kindness.